Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and once again it is time for my client Saif's vlog. And of course, we laughed. He's complaining. He's like, "Oh, my bench, I'm not happy with it this week. I only got 5 reps with 85% of the new training max." And I'm laughing because it's like, yeah, but we increased your training max massively. So this is 106 kilos, which is something like 235 pounds. He got 5. Now, keeping in mind, I know he's a big guy, but we haven't been benching very long. He has been an overhead press guy up until a couple weeks before we started these vlogs, right? And then we decided, look, we want to learn to bench. We need to get all around big. And his bench form is great, but he also had reps in reserve. He said he was getting some hamstring cramps. And we've been dealing with a lot of that lately, of some certain cramping. We're having some tendon stuff, and we've had a lot of bicep pain this week. And it's something that I've had to talk about quite a bit with him. He's a guy who builds muscle really, really fast, really easily, gets injured easy. We have a lot of tendon inflammation. So we're always fighting that. That's the reason that we do a deload week every 4 weeks. It's the reason all his single joint movements are bands, right? They're all bands. We don't do any arm work with weights because, again, his tendons, right? His tendons. And even with the hamstring stuff, we have to continue to work on his work capacity and recovery in his hamstrings. We've got to continue to work on his tendon health and everything. And that may mean at this point us going over and doing more high rep banded good mornings and things. And again, he's one of these guys that we keep him on a 5-3-1 type programming because with conjugate, he has to keep his ego in check. He might be one of those guys right now that would hurt himself on conjugate. So we're sticking with this sort of template. And it's working. He's getting bigger and stronger on a weekly basis. And he's leaner. He's lost body fat in the last few months since I've been working with him. But we ended up getting here on his squat with a safety bar, 140 kilos, which is equivalent of 3 plates. For 8 reps, right? And these aren't half reps. And again, keeping in mind, guys, this is a safety bar. This is a safety bar. I promise you, his same work sets would be 40 to 50 pounds heavier, about 20 kilos heavier with a different bar. And we know because he's been doing the rep work with the Buffalo bar. And I kind of want him to go over that, but he's like, I really like the upper back difficulty with this bar. Let me keep using it for my heavy work, and I'll do the other bar for back off work. But it's going to be a case of as soon as I have him start hitting heavy work with that other bar, his squats are going to be big. Because keeping in mind, this is, 3 plates technically. Again, you got to remember those plates, some of those weigh more than you guys think. But 8 reps, right? 8 reps with 140 kg with a safety bar. And then, I know what his leg strength is. I can look and see what he uses on that belt squat. I have that exact same belt squat, right? So I know how to compare his strength to mine. He can squat over 400 pounds right now if we were to test it. If we were to take this bar and test a training max, he'd hit over 400. Easily. Keeping in mind, people notice I don't have him listed as an advanced lifter because he hasn't been training long enough to be an advanced lifter. Right? He's an intermediate. He's an intermediate in terms of training time. Doesn't matter how big he is. Life's not fair. So, as you guys saw, though, for benching day, we just bench. We do dumbbell rows and we do band press downs. Squat day, we're doing safety bar for the heavy set, the peak sets. We're doing assistance work with the Buffalo bar. Then, of course, we do belt squats. All right, we do belt squats. He's up in that 200-pound range with plates at this point. All right, and doing 5 sets of 10, and we get deep. We get deep. So these are ass to grass. Eventually, I want to get him to where he can learn to squat wide. Hit some big numbers when he does. But he likes this narrow stance. He's comfortable with it. He can get really deep. That's what we run. Eventually I'll work on getting him wider, especially if I ever get him over to conjugate and box squatting. But, you know, guy's going to hit big numbers no matter what we do. We just got to keep him from not breaking. So we do that, and then we do fat bar inverted rows because his grip has been slipping. Now, the issue we're running into, even with all this rowing, even though it's all pronated type grip, is we're getting some bicep inflammation. Right, we're getting some bicep inflammation. Even with the band work. So he's got these sleeves on for the overhead because of that. Now, keeping in mind, we just walked in and he just knocked out 5 reps. I think this is with 85 kg. But he said he stopped. He's like, I stopped at 5 because my biceps were hurting so bad. So he's going to go see his physical therapist about that. But, you know, we may have to take down some of his rowing volume just a hair, because that's enough to do that for him. So I had him on the last workout this week, just skip the axle bar rows. I'm like, look, we'll row the 3 times this week, not 4 between the 2 types of rows. We're just going to call it quits with those. But again, he obviously had strength in the tank. He just blocked out and held that one at the top. Then, of course, we do his 5x10s. We do dumbbell rows, and then we do band curls on this day. But you guys will see the band curls. And I think that always shocks people. Are like, how's this guy's arms this big doing nothing but band work? Well, keeping in mind the multi-joint exercises grow arms, and he's just genetically gifted in the arms. I've known guys who don't curl who have 20-inch arms before. You know, not necessarily real lean guys, but I've known a guy like that. 25 years of training experience and was walking around with 20-inch arms, and he's like, I don't curl, it's just all pressing and rows. You know, and he had massive guns. Of course, that's not everybody. I have to hammer my triceps into the ground. Right? I have to hammer them. Of course, curls don't make my biceps grow. I've noticed that over the years. They don't do anything. They do absolutely nothing. Nothing at all. I can do 15 sets of hard curls every week. My biceps don't seem to grow any faster. I can take them out and do nothing but rows, and they don't get any smaller. So, you know, but triceps, I have to hammer mine. You know, we're not all the same. Of course, we do arm work for him, but it's all band stuff, and it'll help a little bit. It'll help. But it's for his tendons. His tendon health's a big deal for us. Deadlifts, he did real good. He ended up getting 7 reps with, I think, 162 kilos. And left reps in reserve, the same thing. He said, my bicep is really hurting. I strapped up for the volume work. I'm like, that's fine, strap up for it. But for those curious, it's not his supine arm that's hurting, it's both arms. So again, it's just the volume of the rowing. Just the rowing volume. With his genetics, we get inflammation. Just got to watch those things, unfortunately. I told him to start taking fish oil, though, so I'm going to have him start taking fish oil. He hadn't been taking it. I'm like, that'll help some with the inflammation. We need to just get his overall inflammation under control in his body. So anything we can do to help. He eats 300 grams of protein a day, so that's definitely, it's not a protein issue. It's just the way his body recovers, but it's definitely going to be an inflammation thing. And if we're getting that much tendon problems again right after a deload, we need to address dietary ends of some of it. Of course, then afterwards on his deadlifts, then we do 45-degree hypers, and then we call it a week. So I hope it has been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.